Living the Authentic Life. We are here every week, Thursday at 10 a.m. on Facebook Live. And today is World Cancer Day. And if you guys follow me, you know that I am passionate about finding a cure for many different types of cancer, but also in just building awareness so that we can help families who are suffering with family members who have cancer. And I started my journey when I was actually pregnant with Bella. I was joined, a few of my girlfriends were involved with a group called Heroes for Children. And this was back in 2004. And they have an incredible event. Caroline Harper Knapp has chaired, one of our former guests. And it's called Heroes and Handbags. And I thought, oh my gosh, charity and handbags, I gotta connect with this. And I met our lovely guest, Larissa Linton, that journey, part of my journey, and she is co-founder of Heroes for Children. And she spent much of her life helping families. I called her and said, hey, Larissa, World Cancer Day is coming up. Would you speak? And she said, yes, I'm in Houston. And I said, oh, well, you guys have an office here. Are you here for Heroes? And she said, no, Lily has treatment. And Lily is her daughter that is Bella's age, 13, or is Lily 14? 13. We were pregnant together, as I said. And I found out that Lily, her daughter, is going through cancer. And they are here at MD Anderson in Houston. And I said, okay, never mind. You don't need to come on and speak. It's such a journey. You just need to get through it. And she said, no, maybe this is what God wants. And I do believe in God winks. And I do believe this woman is an angel from God. And I'll let you kind of share with us about how you started Heroes. And then we want to learn about Lily.
Sure. Well, thank you, Danae, for having me today. Unfortunately, I've been, I guess the word would be exposed to cancer more than anyone would like to be. I lost my mom to breast cancer when she was just 40, and I was 16 at the time. And then my oldest daughter, Taylor, when she was 3, became sick, and through a battery of tests, we found out, unfortunately, that she had acute myeloid leukemia, which is a very aggressive form of leukemia. She had to undergo extensive chemotherapy, radiation, and then a stem cell transplant. So we were in the hospital from the time she was diagnosed until unfortunately we lost her. We were in the hospital almost 11 months. And she was my oldest daughter. I was actually pregnant with Tessa at the time, who's now 20, and I had a 21-month old at home. So my hands were full as a stay-at-home mama, doing all those things, and then having a child with cancer and a newborn on top of it. It was quite the crazy time, but thanks, just like today, thanks to wonderful friends and family, our church, community, even strangers, we were able to get through that. And today, Tessa just found out last week she got accepted into nursing school at
Oh,
Texas Tech. Her heart has always kind of led her to be a pediatric oncology nurse. Although after having now another sister with cancer, she may change that course of direction, but I'm very proud of her and thankful that she wants to help others as a part of this journey. You know, something something positive always comes out of hard times and things like that. And so losing Taylor along that journey, we realized, we got a lot of help and support from, like I said, friends, family, and strangers. And this was way before the days of GoFundMe or anything like that. but we met a lot of families that were struggling, and they were, many of them were, you know, living paycheck to paycheck before they had a child diagnosed with cancer, or it was a single parent and things like that. And then you have a child diagnosed with cancer, and it really just turns your entire world upside down. The other kids in the family, if there are kids in the family, they're affected. Typically, mom or dad has to either quit their job or take time off work to care for the child. And just like us, I mean, we're here, we live outside of Dallas, and we're here in Houston pretty much every other week for Lily's treatment. And so, um, myself and my co-founder Jenny Lawson kind of realized firsthand after she had a child that went through the same diagnosis as Taylor that there's a lot of great organizations looking for a cure for cancer, which we hope and pray will be found in our lifetime. But in the meantime, you know, families are losing their homes, not able to make their car payments, making decisions: do I buy groceries or um, put uh, pay the electric bill? Just decisions that most of us take for granted on a monthly basis, paying our, you know, mortgage and utilities and things like that. They were struggling to make ends meet because of this loss of income. And then, as you know, cancer, I think we all know cancer treatment is expensive. And so we founded Heroes for Children in 2004. And the mission of Heroes for Children is to provide financial and social assistance to families who have a child battling cancer, anywhere from age 0 to 22 years of age. And since that time, I believe I've been a little out of touch lately because of Lily, but I believe that number is um, upwards of $6 million in assistance that has been provided to families all across Texas now who have a child battling cancer.
Very incredible. Well, my godchild Scarlett was diagnosed with cancer. She's also our girl's age. She is 14 already. She had a birthday in December, and she was diagnosed when she was 6. So I went to New York once a month and sat in those hospital rooms and watched, was part of so much of their journey. And my friend Jennifer always says, I still remember when you said, I didn't know doing nothing all day was so exhausting because it's the craziest thing. You want time, and then when you got it, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is the time we're doing. So tell us a little bit about how Lily, what signs were there with Lily, and as a mom, like how you noticed those and what you did.
Well, at the time, she was in tumbling classes. She wanted to try out for cheerleader last March of 2020 at her school. And she started complaining of ankle pain. And she also played volleyball and was very active. And I said, well, honey, you probably just strained something
Mm-hmm.
tumbling or running at school. And so at first, like most of us would probably do,
Yes.
I'm not known to be a helicopter parent, so I kind of brushed it off. But then she kept complaining, and over the Christmas break, I sat down and noticed that um, there, like right on the bone of her ankle, that bone that sticks out was swollen. And so I said, "Oh goodness, I guess this isn't just going to go away on its own. Probably need to go have an X-ray." So um, I took her and had it X-rayed, and um, they were a little bit. They used the word tumor, which of course sent us into a tailspin
Yes.
because of our history and the place we went. You know, they didn't know our history, and so I took her the next, but they didn't think it was cancerous. And so then I called one of Taylor's oncologists who serves on our board of Heroes for Children and is still a good friend of mine. Told him what was going on because, of course, I was a little shook up.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, bring her here first thing in the morning and bring her x-ray with you. And so I did. And they, we ended up having a really long day of MRIs, CT scans. We saw a surgeon. Um, and they ended up concluding that it was an osteochondroma, which
Mm-hmm.
was good news because it's non-cancerous. It's just this weird bone growth, abnormal bone growth that a lot of teenagers can get. And so the surgeon really left it up to Lily and us as whether we wanted to surgically remove it, or, and she said she did, but she wanted to try out for cheerleader. And this was, I guess, or this was in January of
Mm-hmm.
2020, before our world turned upside down.
Yeah, so this
And
is pre-COVID.
yeah, our world really turned upside down. And
Absolutely.
so we we decided, let's let her try out for cheerleader in March, and then we'll come back and have it removed, and then she'll have the summer to recover. So in the meantime, I remember we had gone to Austin with some friends for spring break, and we're out on the lake, and she was just like, Mom, I don't think I want to try out for cheerleader. This is really hurting me and
Mm-hmm.
bothering me. I'm ready to get it out. And I said, okay, well, as soon as we get home, I'll call the surgeon. And well, literally that week, COVID hit, and you couldn't get a
No.
surgery unless it was classified as essential, which of course hers was not at the time. So by the time we finally got back into the surgeon, he felt like it had changed, and I did too. So he wanted to repeat all of the scans, CT, MRI, X-ray. So we did all that, and ultimately they decided to biopsy it.
Mm-hmm.
So we biopsied it, and her, we don't do anything easy, I guess. Her, can't even think of the word for it now, but
It's okay.
her, it all came back so complicated
Mm-hmm.
that they send it off to the Mayo Clinic for interpretation. And so ultimately, with the Mayo Clinic and um, the labs here at MD Anderson, which we eventually sent them to them as well, since we decided to come here, concluded was that Lily had an osteochondroma, which de-differentiated into an osteosarcoma on her ankle, which
Oh.
is very unusual.
Uh-huh.
And so, um, fast forward, we came to MD Anderson. We have this fabulous surgeon here, pediatric. She does adults too, but she's amazing. And she has just a great bedside manner. And she explained everything to Lily in a 13-year-old girl's terms, like, well, what do you like to do? Show me the range of motion in your ankle. So you want to tumble, you want to be a cheerleader. She said, okay, well, we can attempt a limb salvage surgery, but you're going to have less range of motion than you do now. Well, that didn't appeal to Lily and
Mm-hmm.
her lifestyle. And she said, and, just hear me out. I know this sounds really terrible at first, but if we do a below the knee amputation, you can get a prosthetic and you can run faster than your friends, you can tumble,
Yeah, there could be a
you
strategy here, Bionic Girl.
can do anything you want. And also with the limb salvage surgery, it would have involved multiple surgeries and the amputation. um, which, at first just sounds
Mm-hmm.
completely horrifying as a parent. It's not something you ever in your wildest dreams would
Mm-hmm.
imagine would happen to your child. And so Lily, at the end of meeting with Dr. Lewis, said, mm, I want to do the amputation. And her dad and I were kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she just said that. And so I definitely think, as far as her tumor and where it was and everything, it was the best decision. And that was, so she had, let's see, 6 rounds of chemotherapy leading up to the surgery. Then the surgery was September 14th. And then we have, I believe it's 12 or 18. I can't even keep track. Um, Post surgery, and we're at the end of the journey. Um, prayer,
Yay!
Prayerfully,
Yes.
um, we she just completed after this chemo this week. She only has 3 more, and we met with the prostheticist last week, and we're meeting with them again next week, and they're going to, cast her leg and everything for the prosthesis. So um, we can definitely see the light at the end of the tunnel. It even she said it's gone by faster than she thought. We started this in June and hasn't, you know, been a year yet, but it's been tough. And it's, I guess when I share my story, especially after everything that happened with Taylor and founding the charity, and then here to find myself
Mm-hmm.
back on the more of the recipient side of the charity than the giving side of the charity is kind of mind boggling. And definitely have some questions as to, when is enough. But she has handled it like a champ. The nursing staff and the doctors here just adore her. And I mean, of course, like all of us, she has good days and bad days, but definitely far more good days than bad days. And, she just wants to be a normal 13-year-old teenage girl again. And you know how hard it is as a mom to
Well, yes,
navigate
that's
middle
what
school years. And
we were talking about that before we came on the air. I mean, I know that I've shared that Bella's going through some challenges with acne and being bullied and different things, and it's been an emotional journey for her. And I say things to try to help her, but it doesn't help her, it triggers her. So I was saying to you, I can't imagine being in this situation, but it just seems like Lily's courage and her faith. I mean, I read they do have an amazing page on Facebook. I wish everybody could follow it. It's Love for Lily or Lily for Love.
love for Lily.
Love for Lily. And I went back and read a lot of the post, and I think you're so courageous to share so much. And the thread I've seen throughout all of it is that your faith is so strong and your tribe of friends is so strong. And that has been, I guess, when we go through hard things, we can still be grateful. And that's what I saw is that you still choose gratitude every day because you could wake up and choose so many different emotions.
Right.
And you wake up and you choose gratitude. And it seems like she does too. And I think, especially during COVID, it's hard for any teenager to wake up and feel gratitude, let alone adding that.
Sure.
So tell us about your faith. Tell us about your tribe. Tell us about how all that has helped.
Uh, we're really active in our church, Preston Trail in Frisco. And, you know, before we came to MD Anderson. Several of the pastors of the church came over and sat down and prayed with us. And, uh, they've definitely, I was in women's groups there, and the kids
Hmm.
were actively involved in the middle school and high school programs. And so they've definitely followed us every step of the way and been supportive. And then one of the things that uh, one of my good friends realized, which I hadn't even gone that far down the road, when we
Hmm.
realized that, Lily was going to have her leg amputated, was that where we were currently living, our home, all the bedrooms were upstairs.
Oh, wow.
And she said, Larissa, I mean, you're going to have to move.
Hmm.
And I kind of laughed.
You're like, oh, really? Yeah, we'll just throw that in the mix.
Yeah, let's just,
Let's just make total chaos in my life.
single mom with 4 kids, one with cancer, and let's move. Uh,
Okay,
so,
that's humorous.
but reality of it
Hmm.
was, and even when I talked to my dad about it, he said, well, you can just put Lily temporarily in the study. And I said, yeah, Dad, but we don't even have a full bath downstairs. It's just a half bath. So, then you have that. So while we were in Houston, this friend of mine found this house in this neighborhood just a mile away that the kids have always wanted to live in because it's a lot more family friendly. And I
Hmm.
have a lot of friends there. They have a lot of friends there. And she went and looked at it. She's sending me videos. Long story short, we ended up making an offer on it with me not even
Oh
I didn't
my
even see it.
gosh.
My 20-year-old daughter went and saw it, but it was just a godsend. Like all the bedrooms except for one were downstairs, and which we put my teenage son up there, which is
So he gets to have his, yes.
there, unless you really want to. You put on like your
Your
hats and things.
gloves.
But anyway, just things like that. And I mean, because this neighborhood, typically the majority of the homes are all 2-story houses. And so to find a house just the size we needed, and she's got her bedroom and bathroom downstairs, and I'm just down the hall. And that was just one of many blessings. And of course, my dad thought I was completely crazy, but I said, if we're going to do this, now's the time,
Hmm.
because I have an army of people just
Helping.
saying, what can we do to help? What can we do to help? And I'm like, okay, well, you can come help me pack.
You
You
could pack
can,
my house. You could move me in. Oh,
and,
precious.
Heroes for Children helped pay for movers. So we didn't have to worry about moving all the furniture and things like that. So that's been a huge blessing. And when we're here in Houston, I have neighbors close by that my son can stay with, or he stays with my sister. And, they take care of our pets and take the trash out and things like that. So it's just been, you know, that's been a really huge blessing throughout all of this. And to have, that space that Lily can get
Hmm.
around. And of course, she's already um, making a move on her brother's room upstairs.
You're like, okay, we moved for you, and now she wants to live. That's
Yeah. So
funny.
I'm sure as soon as she gets her prosthetic leg, I'm in for a battle.
Absolutely.
But
But
it'll be a good battle. Like, can't you just wait till he goes off to college?
you'll look forward to that battle.
I will. And so yeah, I mean, just an amazing group of friends that will come sit with you, laugh with you, cry with you, whatever it is may need. I left Heroes for Children from a staff standpoint about stepped down as executive director about 3 years ago. For one, and Danae, you and I were talking about this prior to the podcast. I think God saw what
Mhm.
was ahead for me, and it had become increasingly hard just reading the applications. And unfortunately, we do lose children, and it had just become really emotionally hard. And I, was soon to turn 50 and thought to myself, I don't think I can do
Mhm.
this for the next chapter of my life. I need to do something different. And oddly or crazily enough, I always had a dream of going to work for Southwest Airlines. And I had several friends that were flight attendants for them. And
Mhm.
I'm not one to sit behind a desk.
Mhm.
I was always uh, trying to get out and be with the
Mhm.
donors, talk to the donors when I worked full time for Heroes for Children versus spreadsheets and
Yes.
budgets like that. That's not my cup of tea. And so um, I was fortunate enough to be hired on by Southwest in 2018.
Mhm.
And so I've been flying for them. And then, another blessing out of this is that we're so overstaffed right now at Southwest that they offered extended time off with partial
Mhm.
pay. So I applied for that and I got it. So I'm, getting a small portion of my pay, but it's better than nothing to be home with Lily. I took 12 months, and so that started in September. And so, some days, as hard as they are, or as exhausting or emotional, I sit back and I'm so grateful for that opportunity, because otherwise I would be having to either go fly or give my trips away and, have someone else be with her. And so she and I have grown so much closer just spending all this time together. And some days I laugh. I'm like, "Are you sure you don't want someone to, you want my sister to come stay?" She's like, "No, Mom, I want you." I'm like, "Okay."
Oh, the
Just
best.
making sure you're not sick of me yet. But, it really is a blessing as a parent to be able to be there,
Mhm.
and especially being on the other side of it and reading those applications and
Mhm.
seeing these parents that are having to make really tough decisions as to, do I keep my job and my health care and go to work, or do I leave my child alone in a hospital bed all day? And then with COVID, they only let one person in the room. You can't have visitors or anything like that. So there's not a lot of coming and going or anything like that. But so that, I'm very grateful for that. And then I didn't even realize it until after we had started it, but her treatment plan for osteosarcoma, they let her do outpatient chemotherapy at MD Anderson. So, like right now, I'm talking to you from our hotel room in Houston, and she's still asleep. She's got a backpack full of fluids next to her bed that run continuously. And one time, when one of the hurricanes was coming to Houston, they let us leave early and they sent us home with the backpack, and they taught me how to disconnect it from her port and everything. And they said, but when you go to the office in Dallas, they're going to look at you like you're crazy with that backpack, probably. I go, what do you mean? They're like, well, we're one, if not the only, um, hospitals in the country that allows for outpatient chemotherapy for osteosarcoma. And that in itself is
Mhm.
such a blessing to us,
Mhm.
because no one likes to spend the night in a hospital room,
Mm-hmm.
especially, I mean, for this treatment, we're here Sunday through, she gets treatment Monday through Thursday or Friday. And so just being able to come back here and kind of have our own space and do our own thing makes it a little bit more bearable as well. So,
So I just want our listeners to take a moment and think about this. This woman, this beautiful, courageous woman, is grateful for so many things. And I mean, that just makes me cry tears of joy. That is beautiful, Larissa. And I think it's a message that has to resonate with all of us. I mean, COVID is hard. People are suffering, people are in pain. And to choose gratitude and to choose joy doesn't mean that you're not embracing the pain. It doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge it as hard, but you're just choosing to look at life in a different way. And so, anybody out there that feels like things are happening to them, or people are doing something to them, or God's allowed something to happen to them, I think we have to use you as like the perfect example of that. Is we could look at the bad, but instead if we choose the good. It's so much about, and when I've been dissecting living the authentic life, to me the main thing to live authentically and to find joy is to live with a life of purpose. And your purpose has consistently been so clear. It has been your family first and foremost, but you also take care of yourself. And I think that's a big part of it is you could not be there emotionally for your family. You could not help put the oxygen mask on Lily if you didn't take care of yourself, if you didn't walk away from Heroes to go get another job and to take care of what made you whole as a mom, or if you didn't, I know you've been committed to being fit and in shape and looking at your nutrition. And I've shared a lot about my journey with Sydenham Clinic about being healthy and that wellness isn't just about one thing. And I feel like as moms, sometimes we say, oh, I can't take the time for me. I got to focus on my family. But can you
right.
share a little bit about that? Because we feel selfish to focus on us. But if you weren't strong and you didn't have your tribe and you didn't know what your purpose was, all this would be so much harder.
Absolutely. And, as said before, I'm blessed with just an amazing group of girlfriends, all the way from high school, college group to, you know, people like you I've met through Heroes for Children and just um, flight attendants. Uh, but as far as health and wellness, and I, like probably many of us, let it slip a little bit over COVID because
Yes.
like, "Oh, I can't go to the gym,"
Uh-huh.
and so I really, as of late, have fallen back on my home workouts,
Mm-hmm.
and I love personally Beachbody on Demand,
Mm-hmm.
and I recommitted myself to that. I guess about the beginning of the year,
Mm-hmm.
after the holidays and everything, and too much indulgence.
Yes.
And I look at it too, and I tell Lily, I'm like, pretty soon you're going to be able to do this with me. And
Yes.
when Tessa, my daughter, who's at Texas Tech, was home over the holidays, she would do it with me, and that was fun. And you can still make home workouts
Mm-hmm.
challenging and fun and find what you want to do. And I look at it too, y- like Lily would love to be maybe not doing this workout with me,
Yes.
girl, but jumping on the trampoline or going to her tumbling class and playing volleyball like she used to do and all those things. And so I just think it's something we can't take for granted. And I'm thankful that I have these two legs and
Mm-hmm.
this healthy body, and I need to take care of it. And, I feel so much better when I do take care of me. And when I exercise, I sleep better, and I typically eat better and things like that. And so, it's just, um, it's always been a big part of my life. And I think in the beginning, I may have used everything I'm going through as an excuse, but the reality is, when we get off this podcast, I can put on a workout video on my laptop. I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
be in a gym. I don't have to be at home and get a workout done. So it definitely makes me feel better and stronger as a mom. And of course, there's days that you're exhausted and, I just can't get it done. But when you do and make it a priority, I think it definitely helps us get through these difficult journeys and battles because we feel better and then we're better equipped to have the energy and stamina and emotional support that they need.
Well, and the other thing that I see that you're doing for yourself that I'm trying to teach myself is you're giving yourself grace to not force yourself to commit to too much. And I think that's important for us too, is when we get to commit to our purpose, is that sometimes all of it doesn't work or all of our plans don't go as planned, and that we have to be able to be flexible and to pivot. I mean, we're all tired of that word, but it's still 2021 came and we're still pivoting. It's so much. Let's talk a little bit. I left your title at Heroes for Children on the website, your Chief Inspiration Officer. Um, I love that you were talking about bringing in a new executive director and working with them and transitioning that. And I find that it's hard for me as a type A person to like pass things over and let someone else do it. And um, I even struggle with how much I want to give Rob to do because he might do it wrong. And you seem really good at that. You seem really connected to the people in your life and that you can trust them. So talk to us a little bit about like that connection and how you've figured that out, because I feel like COVID's brought up so much in relationships where people are getting divorced or friendships are challenged because everyone's at such a stress level. And
Sure.
I've seen like an ebb and flow of my relationships with people in my life as I've changed my purpose. Can you share a little bit about how you choose those connections and how you protect yourself in those journeys?
Yeah. I mean, as far as I felt a lot of guilt in the beginning for stepping down from
Mm-hmm.
the organization. But at the same time, I knew that going forward, I didn't have everything I needed in my heart to lead it to the next level. And secondly, I mean, Jenny and I started this organization on a kind of a wing and a prayer,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. We weren't trained to run a nonprofit organization. We just did it, and then it
With
grew.
passion, yes, and
Uh,
with heart and
we
with true
definitely had the
love.
passion, and as it grew, we would take classes and
Mm-hmm.
learn more and do our best. And Jenny had stepped down.
Mm-hmm.
She was executive director, and then she stepped down and went back to teaching, and then
Mm-hmm.
I ended up stepping in. And I think I always knew it wasn't like I wasn't best served in that
Mm-hmm.
position. I was more along the lines of development, like I
Mm-hmm.
said before, getting out, meeting with the donors, sharing the story,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully bringing in um, more dollars for the charity. But kind of by default, I ended up as the executive director. And so when I did make the decision to leave and I got hired by Southwest, we had to find someone to run it. And, you know, uh, unfortunately, there were a couple that didn't work out, but David Hancock, our new executive director,
Mm-hmm.
he's been brilliant. I tell him when I first talked to him, I was like, "Are you sure you want to take this on?" Because it was right after he accepted the job right after COVID hit. I mean, here we are in a
Mm-hmm.
pandemic. We don't know what's going to happen to our, are people still going to give?
Mm-hmm.
What, obviously people lost their jobs. There was a greater need for the families we serve
Mm-hmm.
because some of them did lose their jobs and things like that. And so it was just a really, really difficult time to take on that role. And I applaud him for it. And, um, he's definitely the only executive director outside of Jenny and I who has really embraced us as founders and welcomed us in and
Oh,
wanted our feedback and included us on things, which is, I don't want to step on anyone's toes
sure.
at all. And has way more experience than I do running organizations, but he just has a servant's heart and he's a great leader.
Mm-hmm.
The staff and the board absolutely respect him. And so it's really, that's made it so much easier
Mm-hmm.
for me because it's hard to step away and almost feel like you're handing off,
Mm-hmm.
you
Your
know,
baby. It
your
is.
baby
It
to
is.
someone. And all you ask as a founder, really, I think all Jenny and I would ask is that we want to see it continue to
Mm-hmm.
grow and be there for as long as the need is there. And so he has definitely done that. And, he's coming up on his first year anniversary. And I, I can't say enough great things about what he's done during this pandemic. I mean, just the fact that we had our board retreat last week and I was able to attend that, and just the fact that um, we're, I hate to use the word thriving, but we're
You're
definitely
succeeding.
surviving.
You're succeeding and meeting the goals of
We
the
are,
needs
yeah,
of
we're
your
still able to
recipients. Yeah.
exactly help families across Texas that need our help. And a lot of the social workers have said that, some organizations have or are close to shutting their doors. And the fact that we're still giving assistance and
Yes.
helping and, um, looking at these new ways to expand and new things that we can do that David's brought to the table has been great, especially during this challenging time. And uh, obviously, in the situation I'm in right now, I couldn't have continued down that path. I think
It was a God
um,
wink that you could hire him before
it really was. I
all
think
this hit with Lily. Yeah.
COVID and Lily trying to run a nonprofit organization would have been a little bit more than I
Yes.
could handle at the time. So I am very grateful for him, and I'm grateful for the staff and everything that they've done during this challenging time because, as you know, we had to pivot all of our in-person events, had to turn
Mm-hmm.
to online events,
Mm-hmm.
which was really unheard of. And
Mm-hmm.
they did a great job. Our Heroes and Handbags events in Dallas and Houston were very successful, and
Mm-hmm.
we were able to keep our costs very low because of not having them, not paying a country club or
Mm-hmm.
things like that, not having those expenses. So just really learning to adapt to the change. And, first the event was postponed, and
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
we're coming up on September and realize, oh goodness, we're not going to be able to have it then either. And which who would have thought? Everyone,
No, we kept
oh,
just
in the
hoping.
summer, everything will
Yes,
be fine.
hope beyond hope. I know, and it
And
just. Well, I, I really um, see that for me, authenticity is about purpose, connection, and then commitment. And part of commitment is aligning your words and deeds. And we see that in so much of what you do. You have had a servant's heart for so much of your life. And I applaud you for everything you've done to give back. It's incredible. Just sharing your story, I think, can inspire all of us in the way that we look at life, what we choose to do. You do have a GoFundMe page that people can still make a commitment to help you in your journey. Um, it's called, it's the Lily for Love. And you
Love
could
for Lily on
Love for
Facebook.
Lily on Facebook, and that's where you can find the GoFundMe. And then also, people could give to Heroes for Children and help there. And I'm still fundraising and building awareness with the Scarlet Fund because their focus is more on finding cures. And they they're doing a Valentine's project right now, and they're also raising funds for Cycle for Survival. But their donation accelerate process is helping. They have lowered the clinical eligibility of children to 12 years old. And I think that's offering so much more information because before there was an age limit where they could actually research because kids' bodies react so much differently than adult bodies. And cancer cocktails or I forget what the name is, how they choose what the chemo is
Hmm.
different for every age group. And then they have new adult therapies that aren't just pediatric clinical trials faster than ever. And they give patients access to therapies that originally were only for adults. So I think all that together, certainly MD Anderson, huge shout out to them for allowing you to be able to take that, especially during COVID, where our health is so fragile. I mean, to catch COVID during cancer treatment, I think is also such an added fear that people I can't even imagine dealing with. And I understand there were times that patients couldn't even have adults with them. So I know you were so grateful that you could be with Lily every step of the way. So, are there any last comments that you'd like to make or places you'd like to direct people, Larissa?
The only other thing I thought of when we were talking about events is Heroes for Children is doing this 1800 challenge, and you can find it on the website. But it's just challenging all Texans to raise $1,800 by April 18th for the 1,800 Texas kids that will be diagnosed with childhood cancer this year. And so it's kind of like a virtual run or bike. You just set your challenge and get friends together. You can even, if you don't like to run or bike, you can, bake 1,800 cookies, or
I love it. Well, when
which
Bella,
may be what Lily does. But it's
oh,
just another great way that um, Heroes for Children has pivoted during COVID, and looking for new ways to fundraise and things like that. So
and it is a great way to get your kids involved and to by like if they did cookies and they sold each cookie for $1, the way that they
right.
could mentally get behind it. I know when Bella was younger, I would ask her instead of receiving gifts at her birthday party, I'd ask her to give to the Scarlet Fund, and she
Hmm.
agreed. But then later she held it against me, so I don't recommend that to all parents unless your child's grown up enough to do it. But she was fine; she got plenty of gifts, so she's not scarred for it. But we love you. We love your story and your journey, and we are sending the biggest blessings and love and remote hugs to sweet Lily. And I love that she's still sleeping, such a teenage girl. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Have a great week. Know that we're here for your Valentine's shopping and at the Vintage Contessa, and keep following us. We'll have on our stories, we'll do links so you can swipe up and make donations to support in the ways that you find most compelling to you. Everybody have a great week. Thanks, Larissa.
Thanks, Danae.